Yo, what is up? It's me, WDMichael. Thank you for tuning in. Today we've got some pretty exciting stuff to talk to you about. We are going to be talking about the new Pokemon Unite update that came out just shortly after the game release. So this game, as soon as it came out, was extremely popular. Everybody started jumping on, playing it, gaming it. People from other video games were coming to play it. It has been absolutely super hype. And after the tournament from Victory Road, a lot of people seem to be kind of 50-50 on the game. They either think the game is really, really good, or they think that the game has a lot of issues that need to be adjusted. And a lot of people have been voicing their concerns about the game. I mean, they've been talking about Zapdos, they've been talking about certain Pokemon, specifically Gengar and Cinderace, which are two of the most powerful Pokemon, arguably, in the game when the game released. So, for pretty much any gamer, one thing that we like to see in our video games is just updates. We all like to see updates to games, especially competitive games like this, to make balancing right. And a lot of video games don't actually come out with those updates. And so, or they, maybe they just took a year and a half to do and everybody's already stopped playing it. So the fact that Pokemon Unite decided that they wanted to come out with an update just basically 2 weeks after the game was released to update, fix some bugs, adjust and balance some of the characters, is actually pretty exciting. That means that we're going to actually have a game that's going to continue with us in the future. It's not going to be released and stay at that release date. It looks like we're going to be having a game that is going to be constantly evolving with new Pokemon, with new updates, balancing fixes, you name it. And this is super exciting because the game is a lot of fun. And now we know we're going to have a game where we will play for a long time. So I'm really excited. This couldn't have been better news. And the fact that they changed so many things with the game to try and balance it is really, really exciting. Because what they did was they buffed a bunch of Pokemon that needed buffs. Specifically Pokemon like Charizard, Venusaur, Wigglytuff. A lot of these Pokemon weren't getting used a lot due to the fact that their stats or their abilities just weren't doing enough. And there was a Pokemon better to do it. And then on the flip side, there was a lot of Pokemon right now that were super, super strong. You had in the lower ranked brackets, Gengars just running around doing whatever they wanted to for most of the game, being able to cleave, be invincible. And then on top of it, you had Cinderace, who is just an absolute animal late game with the massive amount of damage he's able to do. So there were some things that people were kind of concerned about, and they listened. They totally updated a ton of the stats, the moves, everything. It's actually really cool. So we'll actually get into this and see kind of what they changed and what maybe this is going to start showing up in the meta and what changes we're going to end up seeing during the actual gameplay. Because as of right now, it is live, which means I'm actually going to be hopping on and playing some live on Twitch here a little bit after this video is done with and testing it out myself. So yeah, I'm super excited. Let's get into it. So the first one we have, which is Charizard. Charizard was one of those Pokemon that just felt kind of okay. He wasn't terrible, but he also wasn't great. He wasn't changing the game. He wasn't going to be the one carrying the game. He was just kind of there. And so what that seems like they did is they gave him a buff. And it seems like they gave him a buff in quite a few places. So first off, you've got your Flamethrower. The cooldown was reduced by a decent chunk, 1.5 seconds. You've got the effects from Flamethrower have been strengthened. So now you've got a cooldown reduction and a damage increase. We've got Fire Punch, effects on opposing Pokemon strengthened. Again, another buff for another move. Then we have another move on top of that, Fire Blast. Cooldown reduced from 11 to 8 seconds. That's a huge cooldown reduction. And then we also have effects opposing Pokemon strengthened. This Pokemon got a all-over just upgrade. And that's super cool to see. I'm excited to see some more Charizards playing. And it's really cool, man. They updated a ton of stuff on a Pokemon that really needed it. And I'm excited to see Charizard. Out of all these Pokemon, I think Charizard is one of the top ones that I know was on a lot of people's bottom of their tier list. I'm glad to see him kind of pop up and start showing off what he can do. The next one we have is Talonflame. Talonflame was one of those Pokemon you saw it on the battlefield and you just knew the other team's weaker. The Pokemon just wasn't great. He wasn't doing enough when he was attacking. He wasn't cutting it. As far as a jungle Pokemon and lane Pokemon, he really just had one thing going for him, which was the ability to kind of position a team fight or snipe somebody out. And even that just didn't really work. So we've got acrobatics damage dealt increased from a whopping 1491 to 2253, which is a massive increase. We've got aerial ace damage dealt to opposing Pokemon increased up to 1137. Aerial ace plus damage dealt increased to 1235. We've got Fly. Damage dealt to opposing Pokemon increased from 2325 to 2974. Those are huge numbers. Huge numbers. So it wasn't just a small buff. He has gotten boosted quite a chunk. And I've actually seen some gameplay from other streamers I was watching this morning. And Talonflame was kind of being a menace. It was really getting to be one of those Pokemon. Now he's got the speed. He's got the positioning. He's got the ability to fly up in the air. He's gonna be kind of a threat now. It'll be cool to see how he plays out, because before you couldn't play him. Now it's like, I mean, he's doing work. So it'll be cool to see what he does. Venusaur. Venusaur is another of those Pokemon that almost always was near the just dead bottom of everybody's tier list. It was supposed to be one of the highest attack rated Pokemon on Pokemon Unite. So if you go to the website and check out Venusaur, I believe his offense was one of the highest rated offenses in the game, and he just wasn't cutting it. For where his offense was, he's not putting out the damage he needed to. And again, another Pokemon that needed it, they buffed him. So damage dealt to opposing Pokemon increased from 999 to 1529. That's about, 530 points of damage increase. That's going to be noticeable, especially on Sludge Bomb, which is a really good move with its slowing effect, which was also increased. So now we have a Sludge Bomb with a slow effect increase as well as a damage increase. Let's go. That's what he needed. Petal Dance, moves effects increased. We got another move getting buffed. Solar Beam, cooldown reduced from 11 to 10 seconds. I know 1 second doesn't seem like a lot, but when it's one of your most powerful moves on the Pokemon, that second might matter. So it's not a huge boost in the cooldown, but it is a boost. It's a change, and we'll see what it really ends up doing. And then also the Unite move, so Verdant Anger. Damage dealt to opposing Pokemon was increased, again, by about roughly that 500 to 600 point range, which is a pretty big boost. It's going to be noticeable. A quarter, a fifth of its damage was just added back onto it. It's going to be a decent size, chunk of damage now. That's pretty cool. Venusaur should be the one that's going to climb a little bit up in the tier list. Now, Absol, which was probably one of the least used junglers. Obviously, we were seeing people like Cinderace, Gengar, Machamp, Zeraora taking over the jungle, and Absol was kind of left behind. And I think the biggest thing was Absol was just kind of having some problems with just staying alive, being able to actually really capitalize on kills. And obviously, the crits were nice, but again, wasn't one of those Pokemons who had a ton of stuns, CCs. It just kind of felt like there was a Pokemon that's better than it. So they have done a couple of updates. So we have the basic attack, the bug fixes. I don't know exactly what these bug fixes are, but whatever they are, they're good. Night Slash, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased from 406 to 719. 300 point increase. Not massive, but for the move, should do some work. And then we've also got Sucker Punch. So two moves on this Pokemon were updated by about 300 points of damage. Pretty good. It could be noticeable. Not as big as the Talonflame or the Venusaur boost in damage, but again, adding crits to the mix, it may not seem like such a small change once you start seeing some crits roll off on the page. So, pretty cool one. Glad to see more Absol jungles kind of change up the variety in the jungle. And here's arguably one of my favorite Pokemon to get buffed, and the amount of buffing is ridiculous, gamers. Wigglytuff. Let's go. One of the kind of underused support Pokemon who had some really cool tech got just blown out of proportion and is going to be seeing a ton of play, I bet. There's some Pokemon that I think go really well with it right now, and that fact that they're on the top of the list is going to make this Pokemon it's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. I think we've already started seeing, I was watching some matches, and there was basically Wigglytuffs on both teams. Everybody's kind of got the idea that Wigglytuff's been buffed, and I feel like it's got out of all the Pokemon in here that got buffed, I think Wigglytuff got the biggest buff out of any Pokemon, which I'm excited for, because I'm going to be playing Wigglytuff tonight. I'm super excited for it. But we have a HP base stat increase, which is actually the only Pokemon, I believe, on this list that got stat increases. So we have HP increase, level 1, 3278, still staying the same. But we see the level 15 from 8002 to 9452. That's a chunk. That is a lot of health to be giving to a Pokemon. I like it. The next one is we have our defense. So level 1 started at 40. We're getting a bump up to 90, so 50 points of defense right off the bat. Moving to level 15, you're going from 2 to 539. You are over doubling this Pokemon's defense. What? Crazy. That should definitely be noticeable. I mean, you don't just go up 240 points and not notice that much defense. That's going to be cool. Then we also have our special defense, which also got buffed. So we're starting at 30 on level 1. We're now going up to 80. And then at level 15, we have 149. We're going all the way up to 482. Those stat changes are crazy. They were not small. It wasn't 20 points, 40 points. I mean, it was double and then some. Crazy. I'm so excited for that. Now we also have move increases. So we've got double slap. Damage dealt increase, opposing Pokemon was increased. 352 up to 438. And that's, right around 100 damage per hit. You slap somebody 5 times, that's 500 damage increase. You'll see that one. That'll be noticeable. And then effects on opposing Pokemon strength. So a lot of people were talking that the Wigglytuff slap was actually supposed to slow a little bit, and you didn't really notice it. But now it seems like we're going to start noticing some of that kind of slow effect from that move, and that's also going to be big. It's going to be really, really cool. Seeing effects on opposing Pokemon strengthened. This is where I think it's going to get really nutty for Wigglytuff. This means that Pokemon that get knocked out, falling asleep, are going to be asleep longer. So now we have Pokemon like Machamp, who actually gets a boost from Pokemon who have status effects with close combat, I believe. I mean, Wigglytuff Machamp is going to be one of those things that you don't want to get stuck being slept around. Because we'll see here later on, Machamp got a buff, and it's in the exact right place for this to make sense. So, really, really excited about that. Dazzling Gleam also had some bug fixes. I don't know exactly what those were, but again, any bug fixes we can have in moves is going to be good. It probably ended up not doing damage. Something was wrong with it, and they fixed it. Like that. Eldegoss was one of those ones where it was kind of a swap. It wasn't really a buff. It wasn't really a nerf. It was an even-ish. I mean, I'd say it probably got a little bit of a nerf. Cotton Guard cooldown was lengthened, so this was the main move that a lot of people were using was Cotton Guard. So you were getting that defense, a little bit of healing buff, shield. So now we go from 7 to 9 seconds. I mean, that's 2 seconds of not having heals. Those 2 seconds in a game are going to change some people dying and not dying. We have Cotton Guard HP restoration decrease. So now you have a cooldown lengthened and a HP resto decrease. That took a hit. Cotton Guard definitely took a hit. It's not going to be as powerful. But we do now have Cotton Spore got a cooldown reduced. So instead of 10, we're at 7.5 seconds. So that's a pretty decent chunk. And then Cotton Spore effects on opposing Pokemon were strengthened. So we're basically going to be, I'm guessing we're going to be swapping moves here. You probably see less people using Cotton Guard. You might see some more Cotton Spore. I don't know. I haven't played Eldegoss a ton. I know I played with the Cotton Guard and Pollen Puff play. So I haven't really tested Cotton Spore enough. But I'm guessing it's going to get swapped. And then also their Unite move, Cloud Crash, was the HP restoration was decreased. So we've also got another healing decrease on Eldegoss. So, I mean, all in all, it's probably gone down a tier in everybody's tier list. It's still going to be okay. It's not going to be something where I think it falls out of play. I think it's still going to see play, but I just don't think it's going to be quite as strong, which is chill. I mean, it seems like a decent balance fix for that Pokemon. The next one we have is Cinderace. This is the big one, causing a lot of problems for people. It was doing a ton of damage when we were playing, and it ended up just being a bit of an issue for a lot of people. So now what we're going to be seeing is we're going to see a stat decrease for its attack. So level 1 is 150. It's going to go down to 135. So right off the bat, start of the game, damage is going to be decreased. When we hit level 15 from 479, it's going to go down to 418. So, I mean, it's not a huge damage decrease, but I think it's going to be enough to where it's not going to be so noticeable how oppressive Cinderace's attacks are. So it's still going to be there. I think Cinderace is going to get plenty of play still. I just think it's going to be, again, I think this was a really good balance for this Pokemon. They didn't nerf it to the point where it's never going to see play again, but they also didn't just, let it stay in the kind of weirdly overpowered kind of category it was in. So it's good. I think this is a really good one. Feint's activation time and movement speed increase has been reduced. I know a lot of people are running Feint for the whole Gengar issue. And then Power Ball, so its ulti, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased. 1618 before stat recalculation, 1563 after stat recalculation. So that to me is a little weird. I mean, it's saying that it did more damage, but now it's saying 1563. So I don't know if that was a typo or something like that, but that seems off because it says it was increased. The next one we have is Gengar. So Gengar was one of the Pokemon that in a lot of the in competitive, like really high mastery, and above, like Ultra, you weren't seeing a lot of Gengar because a lot of the teams really kind of knew how to play around Gengar. It's kind of one of those Pokemon that really is hard for newer players to deal with. So you saw it a lot in the lower ladders, and it was able to do kind of what it wanted to because you'd have a couple people, bots, or just people that really weren't playing on the highest level of play, and he was able to just kind of sweep their teams, and that was kind of seen in a lot of the tournaments and stuff like that that have been played. Gengar he falls off when people really understand the fundamentals of a MOBA. So now what we're probably going to see is, since he's not being played in the higher ranks, and he also got this nerf, he may not see. I mean, he's still going to see some play because he was such a popular Pokemon for so long, but he's not going to be so oppressive. And I think that'll be really good. At least, especially for the beginning players who are playing the game, because a lot of beginning players come into this game are playing it, and then they see a Gengar pop off and kill everybody on their team within 3 seconds. It can be kind of a turnoff to the game, because it's really hard to deal with if you don't know what you're doing. And I think that this was a really good fix for the game itself in general, just in the fact that it's going to help a lot of those newer players in the lower ladders who are seeing these Gengars not get so frustrated by playing them. So we've got some bug fixes on its base attack. Shadow Ball damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased. So it looks like they're trying to get people to start using Shadow Ball, making a viable move. It goes up from 1602 to 2200, a big jump. And then the big thing we see is Hex. It's a move downgrade. So damage decrease and invulnerability time frames reduced. So there was a point where you'd use the move, and you were actually invulnerable for a little bit of time. And that threw a lot of people off because they weren't timing stuns, CCs right, and they would do it right after he used the move, and he was actually still invulnerable. And it was causing him to just be able to be even more of a menace. And so this is going to fix, I think, a lot of that issue with that problem. He's going to be a little more vulnerable. His damage has been decreased. I think it's going to be a really good play for Gengar, especially, like I said, for the newer players. A lot of these newer players are probably getting really frustrated seeing it on opposing teams. So, and then its Dream Eater move speed was increased. So another slight buff to one of its moves that normally wasn't really seeing a lot of play. So we'll see kind of how that works out. Zeraora. So this one, we've got a Spark bug fix. That's that move where it jumps around a little bit. We got a little bit of bug fix in that. Wild Charge, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased. So from 3129 to 3396. Not a huge bump, but should be noticeable enough to where you may start seeing some changes in that one. Wild Charge cooldown changed, so it went from 8.5 to 11. So they actually upped its cooldown. So, I mean, for that particular move, we've got a damage increase, but we also have a cooldown increase. So a nice balanced change. You get a little more damage, but you got to wait a little longer. And its Unite Plasma Gale, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon decreased. So that was one of the biggest things that people are having a problem with. Zeraora's ultimate was really strong. It was taking out a lot of Pokemon, and he was definitely deciding a lot of matches just due to that fact. It's been decreased. So that should be a really good change. Definitely should help balance some things out a little bit. Start making some of the other jungle Pokemon, like we were saying, Absol, Talonflame, to start really kind of coming back up and start seeing some play. Then we have Cramorant. So Cramorant was one of those Pokemon where I felt really early in the game they were really strong, and later on in the game they were still strong, but they weren't quite as strong. And so they've kind of done what I thought they were going to do and decrease kind of his early game dominance. So Whirlpool was a move that was doing a ridiculous amount of damage early in the game. I mean, I would see that Pokemon get kills right off the bat. First creep wave, the first time teams would meet, he was just murdering people. And it was because Whirlpool did so much damage. And it went down from 4736 to 4114. So a big, I mean, that's a huge chunk. That's a chunk of damage. And I think that's really going to make Cramorant's early game a little more balanced and move him into his late game, where he's going to end up being at a point where it feels like his entire game is going to run about the same. He's not going to be super strong in the beginning and then kind of, just be a normal attacker later on. So I think that's really cool. And then dive damage dealt to opposing Pokemon was increased from 974 to 1219. So it'll be interesting to see if dive's used a little bit more because it hasn't been used too much on him. So that'll be a cool one to see. See if we start seeing some more people run that. The next one we have is Machamp. Machamp was one of those Pokemon that was seeing a lot of play. He was a really, really good all-arounder on the team and was definitely one of those Pokemon that you saw pretty regularly. And I feel like now with where we were seeing the changes in him and some of the changes to the other Pokemon, specifically Wigglytuff, I think Machamp's going to get a little more play, which I'm pretty excited about. So his base attack got some bug fixes. His cross chop actually had his damage dealt to his Pokemon decreased. So we went from 1322 to 941. So a pretty sizable decrease. But then the big one was close combat was damage dealt to opposing Pokemon was increased. So it went from 2353 to 2521. And I think this particular move paired with Wigglytuff is going to do really, really well. The fact that close combat does more damage to the Pokemon that have a status condition. And then you go into Pokemon who are getting some better status conditions like Venusaur with the longer poison. And then Wigglytuff with the longer sleep. I think this is going to be one of those Pokemon you're going to start seeing even more on the regular basis. So that's really cool. I like Machamp. And I feel like a really nice level out for him. It's cool. Lucario, just have some bug fixes for all the rest of the Pokemon. So Power Up Punch got a bug fix. Bone Rush got a bug fix. Greninja got a bug fix in its basic attack. Alola Ninetales got its Snow Ring bug fix. That was where it was kind of doing... It was attacking Pokemon wildly, and I think it wasn't doing damage to those Pokemon when it was rolling by them. So overall, you know what? I'm really, really excited. They took an amazing game that has had a lot of hype. They have listened to a lot of the people playing the game. They've looked at what's happening, and they have adjusted the game within just 2 weeks of release. I mean, I've been playing games for a while. That doesn't happen very often. I'm super excited they're taking the time to make sure this game is balanced, trying to give us the best gameplay that we can, and I'm excited for the future because that means that we're going to constantly be seeing updates going out through the game. When we get to Pokemon, if there's an issue with that Pokemon, we're going to see fixes to it, and it's going to be quick. It's not going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 months where it's going to turn players off from the game and then have them come back. We're just going to constantly see our player base get those updates they need to want to keep playing the game, and that is really cool. I'm excited for the future of this game, and I'm ready. I'm ready for the next Pokemon. I know we got Blastoise coming up. I know we got Blissey coming up. We'll probably have a bunch more, and I'll kind of talk about some other Pokemon that I want to see start coming into the game here in a later YouTube video. So catch that one here coming up here next. That'll probably be the next one I end up making. But yeah, everybody, I hope you guys all have been having fun with Pokemon Unite. Let me know in the comments below which Pokemon you think got the best buff and which one you think got nerfed the worst. Please let me know. I'd be really excited to hear your comments, specifically on the gameplay, what you think about the new patch. So let me know. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you. You all have been amazing. We'll catch you next time on the next Pokemon Unite video. You all have a good one. Peace out. Stay magical. Later, gamers.